Hello, how you doing? It's Immortal Man UK, and I'm going to start a series. I don't know how many videos will be in this series, but it's going to be on the topic of the God of the Bible. So I'm going to start with the first one. This is part one, and I'm going to be talking each time about different aspects of the character and nature of God, and just really unmasking who the God of the Bible is. Okay, and I'll just say at the outset that the God of the Bible, okay, though the Bible says about him that, and I say him because the Bible refers to God as a male, him, okay, it claims that he created the universe. I don't believe that the God of the Bible is the creator of the universe, but this will become clearer as I get into my series. But let's just begin to understand part by part the type of being that the God of the Bible is. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a bang. I'm going to talk about, in this part, something very difficult for many people to hear about. And you know what? It's something that maybe you've been blind to. You know, the old saying, love is blind? Well, you know, I'm going to talk about the killings in the Bible, and I'm going to talk about the personal killings of God. Okay, if we're talking about the killings in general, basically we include the personal killings of God, the killings that God encouraged, the killings that, the death penalty for laws that were broken in the Old Testament. Then it's innumerable. I mean, we can't. It's hard to put a number on it. And then if we talk about the killings in the name of God that the Christian religion has done, such as when we've gone and done sort of missionaries, gone into countries, and I mean, what about the classic one? Christopher Columbus went to America and made everyone convert to Christianity and forced it to become a Christian nation, and doing all kinds of brutal things to the indigenous peoples. And wherever Christians have gone in the world, they've not treated the indigenous peoples very nicely and very forcefully rammed the God of the Bible and the whole Christian religion upon them. Okay, but we're going to talk about the personal killings, the killings that God Himself carried out in the Old Testament, and there's even one or two in the New Testament. And what I can hear some of you saying right now who are watching this is, but this is Old Testament. The Old Testament's different. We're in the New Testament now. Well, I put it to you that one of your famous scriptures that you quote, okay, you hear it all the time in Christian circles, is Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. You're always saying God is unchanging, He's the same. Do you know what I mean? So, and of course, you believe that Jesus is God. Okay. So anyway, so if Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever, then surely we can't say, oh, hang on, there's a differentiation between the Old Testament and New Testament. What we're trying to do, is get to know how God ticks. Okay, all right. So let's just get into this. It's gonna be there's a lot to get through, and because there's a lot to get through, I'm going to link you to somewhere that you can check this out for yourself and read the scriptures. If I was to read each individual scripture on this video, it's going to take forever. Okay. So let's just go through a list. Okay, so first of all, let's begin with Noah's flood. Okay, so there's an estimated 20 million people upon the earth at that time, and of course, we all know the story of Noah and the ark. So 20 million people. Now that could be wrong, but it's obvious we're talking about a lot of people were killed at the time of the flood. Okay, now I'm talking about the Bible. There'd be some listening to this who don't believe in the Bible, but what I'm doing is I'm using the Bible to reveal and describe the acts of God, okay, because that is your source. The Bible is your source. You use the Bible as your source to base your Christianity upon. So I'm going to use the Bible likewise, okay? Right, so we got Noah's flood, okay, where people drowned, okay. Okay, so next we'll move on to Sodom and Gomorrah, okay, and obviously Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. And what I'm going to do is go into the reasons and the methods used for the deaths. Okay, so it was burnt to death by a rain of burning sulfur. Okay, and they say that Sodom was an estimated population of 600 to 1200. Gomorrah, we're not sure, but we presume it was similar population, similar size city. And the reasons it was for being prideful, arrogant, overfed and unconcerned, having an abundance of idleness, neglecting the poor and needy, being haughty, and committing abominations before God. Okay, so then of course in the same story we got Lot's wife. She was turned to a pillar of salt for looking back. Okay, so there's all scriptural references in the description. Okay, so next we go to the firstborn of Judah, and he was killed, if I remember, because I've read all these scriptures, although I'm not reading them on this video. I read them all just to check that they're all correct, and I think it said there that he was slew by the Lord, okay, for being wicked in the sight of the Lord. Okay, so then we got Onan, Er's brother and a parent. Okay, so Onan, for disobeying God's orders to impregnate his dead brother's wife or spilling his seed. So what happened here is Onan was having sex with his brother's wife to impregnate her, but he didn't want to. So what he did is he withdrew and ejaculated on the floor, as you do. And so God didn't like that, so he killed him. Okay? So now we'll go to the firstborn of Egypt. Now this one bothers me, okay? Now we all know about the whole Egypt story and the 10 plagues on Egypt. And of course there was the firstborn of Egypt, firstborn child of the whole of Egypt that was killed by God. Okay? And that bothers me because of course, you know, what did the children have to do with this dispute between the two nations? You know, there was like the Israelites and the Egyptians and God, and I mean, what the children, did they deserve to die? Did they know what was going on? I don't think so, but they did. So that was another, and of course we don't know the number. So that was the angel of death that carried that out. Okay, so then we got the Egyptian army. They drowned when the Red Sea, you know, swallowed them up after it was parted. So that was, don't know how many, but that happened. So then we got Nadab and Abihu, sons of Aaron, and they made a mistake with the burnt offering. They created a strange fire before the Lord, or offered a strange fire before the Lord, so they were burnt to death. God didn't like that. Okay, so then we got an undisclosed number of Israelites for having low morale. They were burned. Okay, so I'm going to move a bit quicker now, otherwise it's going to take so long. I don't want to bore you. Okay, undisclosed number of Israelites again. They were killed by plague for eating quails. Then we got 10 scouts sent to explore the promised land, and for spreading bad reports, they were killed by a plague again. So then we got Korah, Dathan, Abiram, and their respective families, and they were killed. The earth opened up and swallowed them, burying them alive, for claiming to be as holy as Moses and Aaron. Then we got 250 Israelites. They were burnt to death by fire from God for following Korah. Okay. We got 14,700 Israelites. They were killed by plague for complaining about the assassinations. So yeah, it's all in the same scripture. We're talking about Numbers chapter 16. So if you read Numbers 16, also there's a verse in 26, but you'll have the references in the, you know, when you click on the link. Okay, so now we've got an undisclosed number of Israelites again for despairing and complaining about the quality of bread. Okay, so they were bitten to death by divinely summoned fiery serpents. Okay. Right. Okay, so then we got 24,000 Israelites killed by plague for sexual immorality with Moabite women and worshipping Baal. So we're going to talk about that in another part, about the jealousy of God. It's an interesting thing because God's very jealous, but we'll get onto that in a later video. Okay, so an undisclosed number of Amorites waging war against Israel, trying to protect themselves and their families from the holy slaughter of the Israelites regularly inflicted on their enemies. And they were sent hailstones from heaven. Okay, so then we got 50,070 Israelites for looking in the Ark of the Covenant. Okay, and then we got Nabal. David refrained from murdering the Baal servants for stealing from him, sorry. He expected his kindness to be repaid in the form of gifts from Nabal, but Nabal declined. God killed Nabal before David had the chance to go and avenging thyself with thine own hand. Okay, so Uzzah touching the ark while trying to prevent it from tipping over. So, oh my goodness. So, yeah. So what a way to get. So you were trying to do a good deed there. Okay, and he was killed. He meant well, trying to stop something from falling over. Wow. Okay, so David and Bathsheba's baby boy. My goodness. Okay, so there was no crime here for the victim of the crime. Okay, so the baby was killed in order to punish David. Okay, so again, it's a bit like these firstborns of Egypt. Very, very sad to see this. You know, children getting killed for, you know, it's not their fault, man. Okay, so 70,000 assaulted Israelites, inspired by either God or perhaps Satan. The Bible is a tad unclear. David took a census of his lands and people. Okay, so they were killed by plague. So yeah, read the scriptures yourself and see what you think. Okay, so an unnamed prophet eaten by lions. Okay, I'm just trying to speed up. You can read this yourself. Okay, Jeroboam's son died in his mother's arms. What was that for? Okay, again, it was a child, so no crime. Okay, child was killed to punish, yet again, punish a parent, to punish Jeroboam, to save him from a massacre God was planning for the rest of Jeroboam's family, and possibly also as a sign to use to confirm the prophecy. Oh my goodness. Okay, an unnamed man again. He refused to strike a prophet when ordered to do so by the prophet in question. Killed by a lion. Okay. King Uzziah. Oh my goodness. Okay. Some of the names are hard to pronounce in the Bible, aren't they? So he was seeking medical advice from a rival god and the Baal worship. He was killed. Died in bed while recovering from an earlier fall. Okay, so I'm beginning to wonder, reading some of these, the ways in which people died. Was it God himself that actually killed them, or did they die of a natural cause that was coincidental with a crime, that when the Bible writers wrote it, they assumed that, oh, well, God did that. God made that person die in bed to punish that person for such and such a thing. And maybe it had nothing to do with God at all. But there are some very clear scriptures where it says that God personally, deliberately, and joyfully killed people for certain crimes. Okay? We're talking about large numbers here. Right, so 102 soldiers for being impolite to Elijah and serving King Ahasuerus, if I'm pronouncing that right, burnt to death. 42 youths, they mocked Elijah's bald head. Elisha. They mocked his bald head. So God sent 2 she-bears to maul them to death. Okay. Now we got some foreigners that were killed by lions for not worshipping God, and then we got 185,000 soldiers for being at war with Israel. They were killed by an angel of the Lord while they slept. And we got Jeroboam rebelling against. Oh yeah, we've had that name before, haven't we? His son was killed to punish him, so now he's dead. Doesn't say how. For rebelling against Abijah, if I'm pronouncing it right, the king of Israel, based on dependence from David. Okay, and then Jeroram, okay, doing evil in the sight of the Lord, stricken by a disease that caused his bowels to fall out. Okay, so New Testament, much shorter list. Okay, unless we talk about the prophecies of death that are yet to come. Okay, but we've got Ananias and Sapphira for telling lies in church. It was like a divine heart attack, you know, one just fell dead at Peter's feet. Okay, Herod, he failed to please God, so he was struck down by an angel and eaten by worms. Okay, and then there's the prophecies. But you know, when you click on this link, you'll see a list. It's very nicely laid out in a table. It's got the scriptural references. You can read them for yourself. Okay, so we're talking about a lot of deaths, a lot of people dying. Okay, and you know, some of the crimes didn't seem that big a deal, and you know, and I mean, what warrants death? I mean, my goodness. I mean, can you do anything that would? I mean, hey, if there was a God, maybe he would be justified in killing someone who was really sick and evil, you know, and harming people, murdering people, raping women, you know, maybe a paedophile, you know, that would maybe be justified. And yeah, you know, on an entire planet, maybe it would amount to a lot of deaths. You know, perhaps several thousand or maybe a few million, but we're talking about, you know, killing massive groups of people for crimes that just are displeasing to him. They're not necessarily crimes, they're just maybe crimes against God. Okay, and then of course there's children. There's a lot of innocents being killed, and of course, you know, when God smites, say, a city or even the earth at the time of the flood, I mean, you know, is there not going to be innocents? You know, is there not? I mean, are you telling me that every single child on the planet when the flood came along was evil? No, of course they weren't. You know, the Egyptian army, they were naively, you know, anyone in the army is fighting. They're a pawn in the game, aren't they? You know, they're maybe just fighting in good faith that it's to protect their country, and perhaps it's not, but they're just doing their job. And they've maybe been lied to, maybe been propaganda. I bet there was. I bet the Egyptian army, I bet they were told that they were doing a good thing by chasing the Israelites to arrest them all and bring them back. You know? So, yeah, it's just a lot of innocents have died throughout history, okay? And it wouldn't be so bad if it was like maybe religions in the name of God, which there is as well, okay? But if the Bible was talking about killings that were done on behalf of God, okay, without God say so, you could maybe say, well, hey, I'm sure God didn't approve of that. But we've got scriptures that very clearly state that it was God himself that carried it out, okay? Or God himself that gave the permission, okay? So I'm going to go into more about this, and I have done already on my channel about, like, Satan, okay? Or as he's termed, Satan. And we'll talk about that more in this series as well. Okay, but what I find interesting about Satan is that if we benchmark, if we like do comparisons here, Satan isn't guilty of anywhere near the crimes that God is. You know, Satan has killed like 10 people. I mean, killing one person is too many. Okay, but anyway, Satan's killed like 10, and let's look at the. I'm saying Satan, but I mean like in Eden it was not Satan, it was the serpent. Okay, it was maybe termed Satan by man himself, termed Satan. Okay, but um, what did the serpent come to do? I mean, it was such a big crime, like the whole fall of humanity, and oh my goodness, and like what a devil, But what did he do really? I mean, he came and he and put an issue to humankind, to suggest that perhaps they ought to like think about this issue of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Is it really so that you must not eat it? He was questioning them. He was trying to ignite some free thinking in them, and he was offering them a chance to obtain knowledge. He said, it's the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and you shall surely not die, but your eyes will be opened, you'll become like God. God confirmed that that was true by saying, behold, man has become like us. Okay, so like that implies that the serpent didn't lie. Okay, he was telling the truth. Yes, he did encourage man and woman to rebel against God. Okay, but it's just questioning authority, and saying, hey, well, maybe this isn't, maybe this isn't true. Maybe, do you know what I mean? Where's the crime? Where's the crime in that? What was that law put there for in the first place? We've got to question that. Why was knowledge, like godlike knowledge, forbidden? Why was it forbidden? What was the threat? Well, these are good questions, and we're going to talk about them. Well, I don't know if you're going to be like listening, but I'm certainly going to be doing videos on it. Okay, so that's it for part one on the killings of of the God of the Bible, and I'll talk to you again.